Good afternoon, guys. Maybe a little flat today. I'm in the middle of a caffeine tolerance reset. Found out some interesting information about caffeine yesterday, and I didn't realize that there was such a heavy genetic element as to how sensitive you are with it. So, we have our decaf here today. My decaf blend is a brand called Flor de Jamaica, and I believe it's from Murcia here in Spain. And then I've got, of course, even though it's like I'm having it like a lungo from the cafetiera today, I've got my mineral water agua con gas as well. So it's my favorite consumption method. I like lungos if I'm honest because you enjoy it slower, but you don't get that crema like you do on an espresso. Anyway, so what I want to discuss today, I want to talk about therapy, but I also want to talk about it not in the traditional sense. I want to talk about particularly how art can be used as therapy. So I don't have too many notes planned for this topic. It's going to be more of a free flow. It was a thought I had this morning because I am finally getting myself in front of agents and managers for music. And this morning I realized that there's like some of my styles that I've outgrown. And yeah, over the past couple of days since I've been like getting myself prepared to like get myself in front of, agents and whatever, it's felt like a grieving process because I've realized that there's certain music I've collected and styles I've played for years that they're not going to come with me in my future. Now, future, we don't know. Usually what sort of happens is a DJ will like get a manager or an agent and then they'll build their sound around like one style, and then later on when they're already like established and known and no one really cares and they can do no wrong, then they will dibble dabble into like a bunch of different styles. For example, Indira Paganotto, infamous for being like psytrance queen, psy mama, and she did like a house set the other day. So these things are possible later on, but at this current point in time, it's not really what I need to do. And I was just thinking about it as well because I'm basically like a trance DJ now. I'm a trance DJ. Of course I still play techno here and there, but my sound is trance and dance. That's really what it is. And I used to dislike trance music. Straight out, I used to dislike a lot of trance music. And now I'm also playing more hardstyle because trance, like you got that hard trance and that like relates to hardstyle. And like again, I never liked really much hardstyle. Like when I was younger, I liked that hardstyle, but like hardcore hardstyle was a sound I always fucking hated. And now I'm like playing that. It's so weird. Um, but you know, in being an artist, and we'll drag this into the therapy in a minute, but basically like today I really just looked at my music artistry and like my DJing from when I started in 2019 to now. And I'm like, that's actually been a transformation process, the whole thing. And through different genres that I was called to and that I enjoyed, I was going through different things in my life. And each time I would like switch up what I was playing a little bit, I would change. And this last kind of iteration where I've added in trance after not having played it for the entire, up until last year, 6 years that I was DJing. Well, it's a tough thing to look at, guys. All right, I'm gonna do a quick breathing exercise because it's really humid here today, and I've been doing a bit of like self therapy, and there's a bit of like tension in my body, and I'm a little bit like anxious. So give me a second. All right, I've chucked some hertz in my ears instead, so hopefully that just helps me speak properly. It has been incredibly humid here, like really bad, but yesterday I had quite a rough mental health day. And sometimes this happens in my caffeine tolerance breaks because, to do the things I need to do to like push myself forward and to create the life, like sometimes I've just got to quieten down these heavy emotions for a bit and like do a bunch of shit. And so that's where the coffee really helps with. Like I mentioned in previous episodes, like there'll be days where um I'm so overwhelmed with emotion just because of everything that I can't do anything. So the coffee's the best way for me just to squash it down for a little while so I can produce and get some stuff done. And truth be told, guys, the things that I am recovering from, in more recent years, and how tough it's been for me just to even like pull my sound together and get myself to a point where I'm like confident in my music. Um, I've just gone through so much. I've gone through so much, and so much so quickly as well. Like I only left Australia, 2.5 years ago, if that. So sometimes when I've got space and I stop, all of it hits me. Like it just hits me like a tidal wave. And sometimes I use that and I move forward with it, but sometimes I have to sit and release. And this weekend I've been called to sit and release. So that's what I'm doing now. The first time I realized, or I had an understanding that art was a type of therapy, right, was when I was in high school. So in Australia, so where I'm from with high school, your final 2 years of school are like the time where your subjects and like your scores count to like your end result. So I had lost my grandmother just before that started. So the final years of school are tough, like full stop, because everything matters and everything counts now. But for me, I was going through the grief, and then all the other familial things that I've mentioned previously that piled on top of that, right? So it was a really tough time in my life, and my art was quite dark. I remember doing a piece, and it was a half female face and a half fox face, and in the background, I had written words like lies, deceit, and just like negative words. Mind you, the school displayed this, like in the school. Um, and I didn't even really understand what I was creating at the time. I did another piece which was really morbid, but I didn't think it was. So I'd taken my wrist and I'd like cut it open, not really, but in like an art piece, and I put like all this color there, to say I'm like I was opening because that's where your veins are. But I didn't do it as like a suicide thing. It was just like I know that that's the area that people target, but I want to show something different there. So there were undertones of depression in a lot of my artwork that I made as a teenager, for sure. A lot of my work became very centered around death after that time because I was trying to process it. I was like 15-year-old kid and this heavy thing had happened. I didn't know like what the fuck to do with it. So it came out in my art, you know. And I had an incredible couple of art teachers, um, Miss Hanley and Miss O'Connell. I'm still in touch with Miss O'Connell, and I think she's friends with Miss Hanley. But they were just incredible, incredible teachers, and I think they understood that when you're dealing with what someone creates, you're really looking at their psyche. You're getting an insight into their world and what's going on in their head. And to be fair, like the reason I loved art so much and art class was because I could never get in trouble for anything. I was always getting in trouble in like other classes and in other like areas of school. And I remember this one this one day, this one day I was at the big printer and it wasn't working. mind you, there were like year 9s in the other class there, year 10s in the other class there, and then like us, the year 12s. So I was like 16. There was like fucking 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds and whatever. And I was at the printer and it wasn't working properly. And I was swearing my head off. Like I was going fucking spastic at the printer. And I was screaming at it. I was bashing it. And all the art teacher did was she said, Julia, like that. That's all she did. Any other teacher, any other teacher, any other teacher who heard a kid screaming and swearing and smashing something of the school's property would have gone absolutely bananas, would have kicked me out, would have probably given me a detention. Like it would have been crazy. All she did was just say my name sternly so I'd stop what I was doing. Right? She understood there was so much going on with me and that I was just like a young girl trying to figure it all out. That she knew like putting me in more trouble and under more pressure like wasn't the right move. You know, she knew how to teach me. And she allowed me to use my art as therapy. And when someone's in therapy or like doing a therapeutic process, yeah, you've got to be able to push and pull. You've got to be able to allow space. You can't always be so domineering and forceful. Okay. So, this is why, personally speaking, I think art can replace at times traditional therapy because the process of it allows that. And, you know, I'm sitting here now. I like to see words as art too, you know, with the rap but also like this communication. What I'm doing now via talking to the microphone, you know, with this little camera, whatever, is I'm creating, not only am I like purging some of the things that I've been dealing with over the past week. So it's a little bit of that therapy in the sense that I'm getting to talk my things out. But every time I record one of these podcasts, I like move forward. I move forward. It's like I get this piece out. It exists there for someone to come back and find later on that might help them or give them some sort of comfort. But it's like done for me. So it's a form of creation. Like, I guess it's kind of like a form of manifestation. You know, your words are powerful. So I've got that. Then I look to my left, I've got my deck set up. You know, I was having a bit of a mix this morning. That's another way that I'm, you know, I'm putting music together and I'm creating my style and whatever the fuck else. To my right, I've got a canvas that I've been working on for, well, I've had it, I started it a few months ago, but I haven't really been working on it till more recently. And again, it's just developing, and because I'm just going to kind of keep it at home, I'm not really like pushing it or anything. But you know, I've started to add some color now and like the things that are going to be in the foreground. And you know, also in front of me I've got like a big, it's actually a TV screen, but I'm using it as like a second monitor. I've got my big monitor, and that's kind of, I don't know what that's doing, but it's helping me because it's on a big screen and it's right in front of me and like I can't look anywhere else. When I jump on the computer to do like my DJ admin and like business debunking shit, I kind of feel like I'm like a hacker in like a system because I got this big fucking screen in front of me and I can't like look away. So it sort of puts me in a different energy. You know, I feel like looking at a small screen, I don't know what it is, but like small screens and laptops to me, they just don't feel official. Like, I don't know. I don't know if just because I'm like a 2000s kid, but like, well, technically 90s, but you know, whatever. I don't know, something about like sitting down in front of like you can't move in front of the computer. Something about it just feels way more like for real. You know, like laptops just feel like casual to me. So I've created this kind of other element here with this fucking screen of to me it feels more professional. Okay, that sounds dumb, but whatever. So my point is I've got like an actual art piece that I'm like painting with and creating with my hands that really has no rules. Like I'm just creating as I go and letting myself do whatever I need to do with it. and I'm in a very different headspace. This is kind of a piece that I've dedicated towards my faith. All right. It's got Arabic writing and whatever else. So I'm in a very different space when I'm like creating on that. And then when I'm mixing, whilst I'm still kind of in a similar space than I am with the canvas, the mixing, well, I'm trying to emulate as if I were mixing like out. So there's a bit more pressure, but I'm still flowing within it. And I'm in that, there's more of an internal voice that's guiding me through the music, right? And I'm thinking a little more technically, okay? Then with the admin work and the PC stuff and the business moves and the things like that, and when I've got my head in a screen, that's a different energy completely. And it's probably the most stark contrast between like the painting and the canvas. It's like firstly, it's got nothing to do with, even though I'm typing, it's very much like my brain energy, whereas like drawing and painting, you're almost just lost in it completely. And it's like an intuitive thing. So, basically what I'm trying to say is all these different types of creation that I'm choosing to do at the moment, most predominantly, that are like helping me move forward. They're all giving me a different thing. Just like how therapy has different modalities for different like symptoms and disorders or whatever else, art is the same. There's so many ways it can be done. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why I believe it can replace traditional therapy, right? There have been things that have come to light for me whilst I'm creating and doing art and or even just writing stuff down that would probably come to light with me as well if I was sitting there with a therapist. Okay? Now, the reason a lot of people will opt for therapy, okay, is because when you have someone who's trained to guide you through it, okay, it's easier. It's easier. They're guiding you through it. You have that dedicated time to dedicate to that. Whereas art can cascade. Art can become your whole life. Art can be everywhere all the time. And it's hard to shut it off. And truth be told, guys, to do your own therapy, which is what I have been doing for a while, pretty much since I came to Spain and dealing with all the hard stuff I've dealt with, to do your own therapy is not for the faint of heart. I'll say that much, right? But as you go through the process of it, you learn that even though you're feeling the heaviness at like level 5,000, that's where you would be anyway with a therapist. You just don't have anyone there guiding you through that, right? And personally speaking, sometimes I feel like I'm purging even more without someone there because I'm less afraid to get it all out because I don't feel like anyone's going to judge me. And I feel like I can fully let it out, you know? What I've learnt through all my years of art, whether it was drawing, painting, making stuff with my hands, putting words together, being a bit of a wordsmith, the rapping, my time in, getting my skills good for DJing and creating my sonic identity now. Also, now I'm doing a bit of digital creation where, I mean, I wouldn't say on my Instagram I'm doing anything too crazy, but um, I'm making some videos and I'm saying some shit and whatever else. Honestly, I'm just talking a lot of shit. I really wouldn't call that creation, but sometimes I make nice videos. And also like the formulation of my life, which is now becoming a big art piece. Um, what I can say is that having all these little different outlets and these ways to face yourself and to meet yourself and like experience different emotions within that, like some days when I'm DJing, I'm in tears. And some days I'm not. Some days I'm fucking up and about and I'm happy. Like it truly is a journey some days when I mix. Yeah, because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it 100%. I'm going through it and I'm playing with my emotions. Some days when I paint, same thing. You know, how many days I've even been behind the computer screen and I'm in like a G'd up mood, or you've seen it on these podcasts, right? That's the human experience, though. That's the human experience. Now, granted, being an artist, it's tough because I'm going into those emotions probably more than the average person. Why? That's how I do my job. You know, just like how a bodybuilder needs to have enough fuel, right? And needs to have their muscles primed, okay, so they can get themselves through their training session and commit to and adhere to like their nutrition protocols and whatever else. An artist needs to have some sort of energy to create from and some sort of emotion. Now, what is emotion? Emotion, energy, emotion. Dr. Joe Dispenza. So if you're numb as an artist, how are you going to create anything? Right? And this is leading me to the point where I've really realized and now am consolidating today, right? With my sound and my music. So, whilst I wasn't DJing techno music when I first started out very much, only a little bit. And I played a lot of like disco house and stuff like that because it was easier to get booked. From pretty much the start of when I started DJing till very recently, I've been playing this techno, melodic techno, driving techno at home. I have so much techno in my library, like so much, so much. Techno for days, okay? And over the past year, that shifted into this hard dance, hard style, hard trance stuff, right? And I've been collecting sounds under that umbrella for over a year now, well over a year. I started the Emergence Project in May last year. It's now July. Stay with me here, all right? Because this relates to anything in life you've got to transition away from. But I'm just talking about my music, all right? For 5 years, I've been playing a certain style of music. I found techno through depression, really. When I listened to techno, it felt like the only thing that made sense. And it felt like I felt the music on another level and it just hit me different, okay? So, techno, generally speaking, it's a deep genre. Now, of course, we listen to it so we feel something and we feel a bit better. But also, techno is very rhythmic and repetitive and there's not too much change and movement. It's almost like techno is your heartbeat. You know, it's like a constant, it just keeps going. There's no elevation within that. It's just like a persistent heartbeat. And if I think about what techno's done for me, well, techno has kept me going, right? I've dealt with depression for years. Years, 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 years. And techno just made sense to me for all that time, right? Now, gone on this big healing journey, whatever the fuck, back to DJing again. Started DJing again, of course, was playing a lot of that techno. Then this trance started to come in. This trance started to come in out of fucking nowhere. Didn't even know I had this shit on my USB. Okay? Opened up something else in me. What did it open up? A euphoria. So not only was there this heartbeat of the techno and this constants, then now it was the euphoria. This is emblematic of a personal healing journey, a personal growth journey, a personal development journey where you're trying to release the old, the stuck, the dark energy and move into actually experiencing joy. Okay? So my music and my sound has directly related to my healing journey and my growth journey of now stepping into a place in my life where things don't need to be hard anymore. I don't need to push anymore. I don't need to work like that anymore. You know, I'm changing everything. And today I jumped on the decks and I started up and then I took it down and I was playing some techno. And as I was playing, I was like, I just don't feel this anymore. Like, I do not feel this sound. I don't feel this stuff. It's not what I need right now. I need the elevation, and I need the positivity. Okay. And it's not to say I'm never going to play techno or drop in tracks. I definitely still do that when they fit. But like, it was just such a weird thing today to have the art tell me something about myself. And that's what therapy does. You go and sit into a therapist's office and you just speak without thinking, and then they like fucking package that in a box and they deliver it back to you, and they guide you and they tell you. I'm just saying I did that with my freaking music, with my decks. So this is what I mean, and this is what they say when art is therapy, right? At the time of it, you may not realize, okay? But at some point, when you're ready to see it, it'll click. So today was weird because, again, it's a piece of my identity I've known I wanted to drop, but I didn't think it was also via the music. Right now, like I said, I got a bunch of techno. It doesn't mean I'm never going to play it again. You know, the whole point as well of like growing yourself as an artist is that when you have your name and people trust you, you can sort of do what the fuck you want. So yeah, I'd love to be eventually playing in underground clubs and doing like long techno sets where I can just fuck around with a good a good mixer and, you know, have my fun. I love a long techno set. You can be so experimental, right? But right now, not where I'm at, not what I need, not what I'm feeling, not what's pushing me forward, not what's helping me improve in general. So it was really weird to see that, but it was cool to see that. And um, I think I'm more accepting in, I think I'm okay in accepting this because I know it doesn't have to like go forever and it might just be a now thing. But also, how many deaths I've gone through, how many things I've let go of, how many things I've let die. I can't even tell you. This is just the path of an artist. Like, this is why I'm always saying, fuck everybody, don't listen to anyone. Because, like, if you guys knew what it was like to be an artist, and I'm not saying this to be like supremacist, I'm not saying this to be like, I'm fucking better than you. I'm not. Like, it's just my life and my path, all right? And that's why I'm sharing what I'm sharing because it's a fucking unique path to walk, let me tell you. And it's not for the fucking faint-hearted. You know how many years I tried to not do this with my life for? You know how many years I tried to like do other stuff, play it safe, go work here, go work there, and everything just fucking didn't work. It didn't work. I've tried to resist this, believe me. At this point, it's just like you have to let it. All right, all right, let it. You got to let it take you. So, but basically, like through my life of following my own guidance, understanding that I'm here to create my own things and my wealth and my stability runs off the back of that, right? And trusting in things I can't see, trusting in this spiritual connection I feel with a God source, whatever. All right. Not only has that made me look fucking insane and dysfunctional and all the fucking rest of it to the layman, but it's made me have to release, let go, and move on from and kill so many things in my life. So many things. Okay? Things I used to love doing all the time. Identities I used to have. Jobs I had. Studies I've invested time, energy, and money into that don't serve me anymore. You know, careers I've invested time and energy into that don't serve me anymore. People I've invested time, energy, money, love with that aren't supposed to be a part of my life now or potentially the future. Places I've lived, which I couldn't stay there forever, you know? And my life, my early adulthood has been a constant grieving process of all these little things, just constantly. It's like, oh, there's another layer to drop. Oh my God, there's another layer to drop. But through dropping those layers, yes, there's a bit of an incubation period where you drop a layer and then there's nothing and then something new comes in. But through dropping all those layers has allowed me to keep growing and evolving and create these new things. You know what I mean? And they're new, but in a way they're like connected to like a lot of who I used to be, particularly as a child. So there's this weird thing that happens through like a deep healing process where it's like you actually realize that you kind of become who you used to be, but this time without all the drama and the trauma. It's like you become who you used to be, but just like a more refined, different version. So like, guys, I'm looking at myself right now and like I just feel like I look like how I used to look when I was little, you know, but like obviously now I'm jacked and like I'm older. But like I just feel like I look like I would if I was a kid. You know, I don't know, I'm wearing a pink top today, so I feel like young Julia. But like I've re-picked up things that were already in me before all the pain and destruction. You know, these like silly little things that I like to say and these little quirks about me. Like, God, you know, I used to, when I was young, I used to like just be so fucking silly and so stupid and like say shit and laugh and all this. And like those parts of my personality really died like through those difficult years. And they existed with friends, but like I wasn't doing that without friends. So since like dropping and outgrowing and like just moving away from a lot of my friends, I've had to like find that piece of myself that loves to be silly and jokey and all that again. That's just a small way I used to express myself that, man, it died. That's a small example, but just something that was like so little about me that I used to like do all the time and live in because it was a part of who I was. I muted that part of myself through all the stuff I started to go through when I was like a teenager, but I still got to express that through my friends. So all my friends and any friend I would make or any friend I would keep and all my relationships would have that silly version of me inside them, right? And then obviously through the move, naturally a lot of my relationships changed and or I drifted from a lot of people and whatever. So I lost that piece of myself because I had rooted it so heavily in all my friendships and all my relationships. And I wasn't being that way just on my own like I was when I was younger, you know? It's so weird. Like the more I do this um internal reflection work and you know, wrapping up my healing journey and moving into a state where I'm healed and there's not really too much more to fucking purge at this point in time anyway. Like the more I realize, fuck, I was like this as a kid. And I feel like I'm not unique in that. I feel like there are so many things about us that we were as when we were kids that like, you know, depending on the way you grew up and stuff, but generally speaking, like kids just don't give a fuck. Kids just don't give a fuck. They are who they are. They don't have these parameters around them yet. And hopefully they don't have too much trauma. And even if they do have traumas around them, they probably don't even know because it's just what they're used to because it's how they've grown up. So they don't have a reference point. You know, they can't be like, oh, this is fucked. They're just like, this is just life. So as a child, you're permitted more so to, well, you feel permitted because you don't know any different. You're permitted to like just be you. So being really interested, and I'm not the only person that says this in a lot of these like communities where I'm like, you know, looking for this information. They're like, I'm just like returning to the way I was as a kid. I'm like, same. So on that, right, I've just said pretty much that I placed a piece of myself, okay, and I tied it to something outside of me, which were my like interpersonal connections. So let's try and use a hand diagram for this. So this is me, okay? I should be open and shining like this. Doesn't matter where the fuck I am, okay? Shining, shining, shining. But what I did was because I would shine all the time and then that shine would get me harmed in other areas. I was like, well, fuck this then. Then I had friends and they were like, you can shine with us. I was like, fucking Mickey Mouse. So what happened was I formed this bond, normal, healthy attachment, friends, right? I formed a bond with all these people and I attached this part of myself that loved to come out and shine with all these people. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. But when I was away from those people, I'd do that again. And I'd lose that. Okay? So then when I moved away from these people, of course I'm not going to get that at all. So I've had to learn how to open my wings again. I've had to learn how to shine without being given a light, right? I've had to learn how to like put the wires in the right spot, how to plug them in, where the fucking switchboard is and everything else so I can put the lights on and keep them shining, right? So I think that's a really interesting thing as well when it comes to romantic relationships. Whereas I think we reserve that sense of love and intimacy for just that a lot of the time, particularly in like Western cultures. And like I've mentioned before, and I'll give Greece a little mention here. And there's not just Greece, like even in Arabic, there's like a million terms for type of love. But like so many other cultures have this understanding that there's like a million different types of love. And for some reason in English, when we hear that word, like I want love, you're just thinking about a romantic partnership. You know, it's not the only way we can feel good and we can fully express. Just another little side note too. I think if you do meet someone who you really feel like you're healing with and you can share everything with, and like it's just a beautiful, amazing connection where there's no boundaries, I think that's an amazing thing. But I think even with that, you have to maintain your sense of self outside of that. I think maintaining your sense of self outside of places where you do feel really accepted or you feel amazing is tough, you know, but I think we owe it to ourselves to continue shining no matter where we are. And a good friend of mine said to me the other day, you know, you don't have to worry about darkness coming in, right? You just have to worry about the light shining out, right? So the light shines from within and then you shine it out. Yeah. So darkness can't overcome the light. You know what I mean? And even when there's darkness, the light stands out. Think about the night sky with stars. So we're going to end it there. Basically, guys, not everyone has the money for therapy. Not everyone wants to go to therapy. Not everyone learns that way. Also, if you can create some beautiful, amazing stuff out of purging tough emotions, then why not? Art can be anything. And like I've said before, if you don't know where to start, you can put everything into ChatGPT and see what it does for you. But the best way is to just old school, like I still do to this day and probably will do till I kick the bucket. I'm going to be this old bitch in a nursing home, hopefully not. But I'm going to be an old hag and I'm going to walk around with an art book like this and some pens and texters and shit and just fucking do what I need to do. But like you can do so much with paper and a pen and a pencil, whatever. This tool has helped me so much through my move, whether it was writing rap lyrics when I didn't even have fucking internet or nothing, and I was living in a town isolated from everything and everyone, whether it's creating like nice pictures, whether it's like writing stuff to God, like whatever the fuck. You can do so much with it. And so many times it's showed me like where my head's at. It's allowed me to just get emotions and things out. Then also when things don't serve you anymore, you throw them out, and or if you want to burn them, it's great. So can't recommend using artist therapy enough. Now, I will mention I have done a therapy technique that I found online. I did a therapy technique that I found online, I think it was last weekend. And On My Days has ripped up some things. I've linked the mapping of it actually in this podcast playlist. So it's called IFS therapy, internal family systems. And basically the overarching idea of it is that we have parts to ourselves as humans, but we also have this self that is like more of our spirit that can analyze those parts. Warning you, heavy shit. I think this should be a standard, but like if you do any self-therapy that like is normally done with a therapist, shit's heavy. Okay? Shit's heavy. So I did this and it was really cool. And as I was doing it, it was like, oh my God. And then like everything fucking a few days later, like gets messy and shit. But it was really interesting to see that because parts of myself, which I think is standard for everybody, but I got to see which parts of myself were like taken over and or like restricting me, and I got to like honor each part and then like use each of their strengths. So I think I'm due for another little activity on that today. I also had I did 5 parts in the first inception when I was mapping my parts out with the video that's in this playlist. And then I thought of another 2 parts like in the coming days after that. So I think I need to like put that all together. But yeah, like obviously there are traditional therapy systems, you know, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, you're talking and things like that, that do help. Okay. So when I say therapy's bullshit and I say things like that, you know what I mean? I don't say it as much now, but I do say that. It's more of just like a marketing ploy. But like, I just mean that not everyone fucking wants to go and not everyone likes it. So find other shit that works, but don't not do therapy. Don't not do healing work. Don't not look at yourself. Don't not work on yourself. I don't just mean, oh, fucking keep being a fuckwit. I mean, like, find ways to purge emotions, to face yourself. And it doesn't have to be sitting down with a therapist. It doesn't have to be that, all right? But that work absolutely needs to be done for the vast majority of people. What you got to understand too, guys, man or woman or whatever else, no matter where you've grown up, we've all grown up with these things that we've been told we have to do. And things that have put us all in these boxes of a man, of a woman, you know, then on top of that, your cultural community or whatever the fuck else. Like, I guarantee you, if you have some level of an open mind and are probably watching this right now and want some level of like autonomy and independence and just like to be you and to connect with your soul, you're probably finding these points of contention within your own life. So I promise you'll be all right. You know, what you're going to what you learn to what you learn to through the process of facing yourself and doing that over and over and over and over and over is that like the worst it can get is that you just feel like you want to end it. That's the worst it can get, right? Sit there. If that's how it feels, sit there and scream and cry and talk. Yourself to God, whatever. Get it all out. Sit there and feel it. Don't do anything. Sit there, feel it, run around your house, fucking, I don't know, scream into a pillow, cry, say whatever's on your mind. That's the worst it can get. Once that's all out, you'll either cark it because you're so tired from the emotional outburst and you'll fucking fall asleep, or it'll be gone from your system and you'll feel a million times better. That's the worst it can get. That's what you're so afraid of when you don't face these emotions. You're afraid of an outburst like that. I get it, but why? Why? Right? Don't do anything. Stay in the fucking 4 walls of your home. Make sure you're in a place where you can do that safely and freely, and you know you're going to be able to do it. But sometimes we've got to be honest. We've got to be honest with the things on our hearts, on our minds. And even if it's not positive, we have to sometimes tell ourselves, hey, I feel like this, I feel like that. I feel defeated. I feel like I don't want to be here anymore. Admitting it to yourself is better. Admitting it to yourself is better. Okay? At the end of the day, it's just an emotion. And an emotion's coming from somewhere and it's being triggered from something. So the sooner you face that and admit that's how you feel, right? The sooner it's out of your system and it's out in front of you and you can go, well, why the fuck do I feel like this? Why? Where does this actually come from? And that's when the therapeutic process really starts. But until you are honest with yourself, it's going to stay in there. I'd like to mention as well, talking is a fantastic way to move energy. You don't always need someone replying back to you. Okay? And I don't know why you're seen as insane when you talk to yourself. I think talking to yourself is actually incredibly good for your mind. Yeah? Because you get to see what the fuck's going on in there. Yeah? And you can like validate yourself and be more confident in yourself. You know what I mean? I think it's a good tool. And I don't understand why we have, generally speaking, associated it as a sign of insanity. Because I think it's one of the best things you can do. And to be fair, I would actually benefit from speaking to myself a lot more, you know. But again, I judge myself too. Oh, I don't want to fucking be crazy. I'm creating fucking 2 businesses off the back of nothing. I've got to speak to myself. Anyway, talk soon, Mafia. Seva.